But from what I know from this poll, there's only one student currently diagnosed with the CAT 6A syndrome. So I wanted to talk briefly about what we offer, because what we offer really speaks to why that classification rate is so high. In our district, we have 9 elementary schools, 1 middle school that all those elementary schools feed into, 2 high schools, and 1 alternative high school. If you look at from top to bottom, the green are the schools, so that's not as relevant. But the programming is relevant, and as we go down, the level of support becomes more and more restrictive. In special education, you have like 2 obligations: free and appropriate public education and least restrictive environment. So our goal is always to make sure that students are learning, but in the most least restrictive environment that is possible, so that they have the most access to general education. The first bullet is our 15-to-1 special class program, primarily for students who struggle with learning or language. It's a half-day model, so students are in the mainstream for the second half of the day, but the primary focus of instruction is on ELA and math. We also have the West Nyack program, which is one of our elementary schools. This program is a little more restrictive. It's a 12-1-1 ratio, and it's meant to service students who struggle a little bit more in the behavioral and emotional area. We have an 813 program, which is primarily for students who have been diagnosed with autism. And the related services, speech language therapy, occupational therapy, and counseling are built in intrinsic to those classes. So one class, say a K1, would have 2 days a week of an occupational therapist, 2 days a week of a psychologist, and 2 days a week of a speech therapist that would be pushing in to support the students of the class. We have another program, an 812, which is for students who struggle with cognitive and intellectual disabilities. And then the alternate school that I spoke of, which is an 811 K-12 school, which is for students who primarily struggle with emotion and social functioning. I just wanted to point this slide out because what's interesting about this model, although it is highly supportive and it could really meet the needs of a lot of kids in more supportive classes, the state actually says we're overly restrictive. Something to point out is that's kind of skewed as data, because we actually take students that come from other county districts and also from other areas outside of the county. So because we have such a wealth of offering, it's indicated as if we're a little bit too restrictive. They want about 80% of the kids to be, actually 60% of the kids to be in a general education class for 80% of the day. And if you look at that box, I don't know how to use the, I don't want to mess this up, right there. It's very hard for us to meet that. But I'm kind of proud of it in a way because it shows we have a lot to offer. These are the related services that are embedded within the district or available for any student to receive that's classified or even not classified in certain situations. And it's either provided in an individual session, a group session, or in a consultation model. I want to focus just a little bit on social emotional. You know, we've come out of a situation where not only the social emotional needs of the adults have been a concern, but also the social emotional needs of the students. You know, there's definitely a trend of significant trend of anxiety, depression. These kids coming back into school really lost out on time and lost out on skill building. That better equipped them to go back, now 2 years older, and reacclimate themselves into the school setting. So again, I also want to just make sure we're focusing on the adults here, because the adults who are working with the students in this community and district, it's what they need to be able to help and bring the students forward. So we have to focus on the teachers and the providers and the administrators as well. Just a statement to say as we continue to move forward in education. What we do have, which is special to Rockland County, is this Department of Mental Health. It's a system of care. So we have what's called Partnership for Safe Youth, We have a behavioral health response team and a care team. The Partnership for Safe Youth is a place where if a child is struggling or a family is struggling, they get referred, and rather than get referred to individual agencies to figure out who is going to help me, it's all of the agency representatives working together and being together to meet on a student and determine what they may need, what that family may need, and then ultimately deploy the resources and supports. Just quickly, a lot of focus on our mental health training within the district this past year. We brought in what's called mental health first aid training, which gave teachers strategies to help support students more effectively based on what we now know of the functioning. Another thing that we're proud of within the district, going back to that school avoidance, anxiety, those students are out there. We created what's called a therapeutic alternative program. It's housed at our central office, and it's a place for kids who are struggling to attend school. And rather than be home spiraling, they come to our office, there's a psychologist attached, they get a half a day of instruction with 2 teachers, the goal being to keep them stable and ultimately reintegrate them back into the school, or perhaps, help them find their way to more support. It's been so successful, we actually created a new version of it in our middle school to better address not only the emotional concerns, but the behavioral concerns of the students. There's a lot of bad behavior out there now because kids just, lost out on that time to interact. Not bad behavior, let's say challenging behavior. But this program, instead of having the kids suspended and being out of the school and having home instruction in home, they're actually within the building. And they stay within the building and they work on that social emotional development so that they're better equipped to make better choices and reintegrate back into the school. A lot of professional development opportunities. We always look for enhancing what we offer, so we've done numerous workshops on autism spectrum disorders, working with students who have special learning, who are special learners across settings, working on the behavior piece, how to conduct functional behavioral assessments, create behavioral intervention plans, and communicating with parents. And that's really, one of the hugest goals as a district administrator. Parents are key to everything. You're the ones who are living what you're living, and the more collaboration and support that we could provide, and the more support we could provide staff to help support you, is really always a focus. I want to focus on transition. Transition is very important. It begins typically when a student turns 15, but it actually should begin before. What transition is it's setting the stage for what is going to happen for my child after they exit out of a school-based setting. And there are sections of an IEP that deal specifically with transition. One is called post-measurable secondary goals, and one coordinated set of transition activities. Again, this is the purpose, but I just want to go back. So these are different areas of an IEP that now are focusing specifically on, okay, the student is still in school, but what do they need to focus on to help make sure that they can live more independently upon exit? Also, what type of vocational training may they need to access? What types of programs are out there to support students beyond school age? What different types of opportunities or supports would they need if they were going to access an employment opportunity? The community and recreation, how are they going to be able to maintain relationships in the community? And also how are they going to be able to advocate for themselves? Those are the transition goals. And then the coordinated set of the transition activities is, okay, now we know what we need to work on to help the student be better equipped to exit, but who needs to help? What community agencies are needed to help provide support services? What is the district's responsibility? What is the parent's part in all of that? It's setting the stage. Where are we going, and who's helping us get there? So it's a very important part, and something just to keep, in your minds. Okay. We also have within the county, which is pretty significant, Access VR, which is continuing education and career opportunity services. And we also have OPWDD, which is the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. And what these offer is case management support services. So students have access to the community resources that they'll require when they leave, which may include Medicaid-funded opportunities, residential opportunities, or family support services to help families. Preschool. So we also, have students entering our school district from preschools throughout the county. The students coming up typically have 5 different special education preschools that they would come to us from. But because the needs, as I indicated in an earlier slide, continue to intensify, we actually don't have enough offerings within the county for special education services. So we're actually developing 2 new classes and applied to the state to put in our community learning center, 12 1-1 classes for students to be able to access. They would be our students now. We would be able to provide our own programming for them at preschool and then be able to better transition them into our kindergarten programs, which is a nice, consistent, cohesive model. There's also a transition process from preschool to kindergarten. So we have training sessions for parents so they are aware of all those program offerings that I had shown you, and also the ability to have representatives from the county to help support. Technology. So just speaking a little bit more specifically, a lot of the earlier presentations really focused on the communication and the speech and language delays. Communication is the key to everything. We know that. If students have a difficult time communicating and they can't effectively make their wants and needs known, then we have to find other ways to help them. We have invested a lot of time and energy in providing programs like Prolo Quota Go for students who need a digital way or means of communicating needs. But even less intense than that, we have text-to-speech programs throughout the district, speech-to-text programs. We have licenses for, we provide licenses for Bookshare and for this program called Sora, so that, again, back to the access to the general ed. We want kids to be as close to general ed as possible, but if they're lacking in skills that are getting them there, then what are we doing to help them level the playing field so that they have the same opportunity? And then back to another noteworthy opportunity that we just started last year, our District Unified Basketball Team, which is in collaboration with Section 1 Varsity Sports and Special Olympics. It's a team of general ed students and special ed students that play other teams throughout the area, even outside of the county. And it was hugely popular and well attended last year, and now there's actually a fundraiser. We're selling shirts to try to raise money for their uniforms, so it was just a nice addition to make sure that we're providing opportunities for students to be really part of the community and integrated. And then it goes back to the community. We have a Special Education Parent-Teacher Association that works collaboratively with myself and my team, and basically helps provide professional development to families, does fundraising for scholarships each year. We hand out scholarships to exiting seniors who are going to go off to college or to another program. And that's key. Having that opportunity to have the parents and the staff collaborate and coordinate on the behalf of the community has been an integral part of helping, us be more successful helping families. And this is just a snapshot off of our district resource page, but again, it's about the capacity building, which is one of those 4 strategic goals. We can't do it all. I have a wonderful set of programs to offer, but I can't meet the needs of all students. So yeah, there was 1398 that were represented on that one data poll, but that doesn't represent students who I can't help within the district. And they're out there. They could be in a New York State approved program, a private center-based program, a Rockland BOCES program or a residential program. So again, it's the marrying of the community, the other educational opportunities, and providing resources and supports for families. And that's what I got. Any questions?